Hello, everyone. It is Sunday, the 4th of February, 2024. So it's 2424. And also the possible significant gematria number 42 as well, which is 24 in reverse, 24 hours in a day. The sun travels 15 degrees every hour through the constellations, through the zodiac sign, the constellations above us. And so every 2 hours it passes through the zodiac signs. Again, more when it's on the equatorial path. And I'm actually going to show some images and things regarding that, just to get it out of the way, because it's just interesting stuff. And then I'll get into like more of the current events, and more specifically the title of this video. And if you are new to this channel, every Sunday I usually do end up just staying in my pajamas and doing these videos, because it is quite early. The sun's not even out yet, and so I like to have things a little bit more relaxed, and but still being available and doing lives. And so it's a waning crescent right now, and so you have the like the illuminated side of the moon, or the luminary as I like to call it, is on the left hand side, or the west, whatever you want to call it. And then when it goes, and that's when it's going towards a waning crescent, so towards a new moon. It'll start getting like darker until there's 0% illumination. And then we start, like after the new moon, we go back into the waxing crescent phase, where we have the moon is becoming more illuminated, and the crescent where that's illuminated is on the opposite side. So it's on the other side. So that's another way of tracking waning and waxing moons, and being able to predict seasons and all that other stuff as well. And so why I wanted to share this and say that it's just fun facts and interesting information is because Santos Bonacci talks about this, and he's been talking about the sun's ecliptical path through the Tropic of Capricorn and Cancer, and then through the equator, and during the so we have equinoxes and we have solstices. Okay, and if you look at this line, I don't know if it's too small, but you have the Earth is separated into two hemispheres, just so you can break down the sun's ecliptical but circular path above us within this contained environment, which is clearly broken down here. And then so you have it where when it's at the equatorial points, right, this would be, for example, where it would be furthest away from the northern hemisphere or the center of the Earth, just based on this model, just to show you the sun's path. This is why I'm showing this. At the equator, you have it where this would be like the fall, or the on or around the 22nd or 23rd of September, depending on what hemisphere you're in, and where we have equal amount of day and nights, and where the sun generally rises in the east, sets in the west, in or around 6 a.m. through Aries. Again, when it's at the when it's equal amount of day and night at the equinoxes, not at the solstices, when we have like the least amount of daylight or the most amount of daylight. I'm talking about at the equinoxes, and that's also a way to tell when we're in our more extreme seasons, right? And which are also necessary for the world. So anyways, on or around the 23rd of September, we have what we call the fall or autumn. And then this would be like the winter solstice, this being the Tropic of Capricorn, and where the sun is at its furthest from the equatorial line, by the way, which it only goes at its furthest north and south latitude from the equator, 23.5 or 23.4 degrees. Okay, which is also interesting. When you minus 90 degrees by 23.4, you get the 66.6, and then when you divide 2 by 3, you get 0.666, and then 2 times 3 is 6. And so there's a lot of sixes as well in this, but this is also like my way of showing you that this divine clock, it's like that it was created by an intelligent being of sorts. And this is not some random big bang that happened and everything was by accident. Absolutely not. And then so you go during the spring equinox on or around the 21st of March, equal amount of day and night, and then the sun starts its further ascent to its highest point in Cancer on or around the 20th or 21st of June, depending on what hemisphere you're in, and where we have the most amount of daylight, least amount of darkness, and then it starts its fall again, and then again. But if you merge and make this like a circular path, then like that's exactly the path of the sun. So an impossibility of it being 93 million miles away, and the moon as well. And also, fun fact that the solar and lunar path recalibrates every 33 years, I'll say. So there's also that 33 connection between the sun and the moon, and when they're more balanced and harmonized as well on their path. And I'm just going to share more information on the sun, just so you're not just taking my word for it. And again, do your own research. Don't just take my word for it. And this is information that is really hard to find unless you're actually knowing what you're looking for, that you're on a virtual private network, that you're connecting from different countries that aren't censored. So people are just coming at me with just like an easy Google search, and they're looking at the first or second link on Google, and their searches are on their search engines are how to debunk flat earthers, or why are flat earthers stupid. Like, these are literally what people are searching, and they're thinking that the top search results they're going to get is going to be actual relevant information that's going to actually get them to learn as to why people went from being globe earthers to flat earthers to begin with, right? and also, I ask people questions when they're insulting me, and I'm giving them facts. I'm like, can you explain this? Like, I'll give them points about the curvature, about Coriolis effect, about crepuscular rays, about the sun's ecliptical path, all of this stuff. No answers. Have no idea. I'm like, what? How fast are we allegedly spinning? How far away from the sun are we? How far from the moon are we? All of this stuff, no idea. Okay, but you're going to call me an idiot, even though you're dying on this hill that you have no idea what you're talking about, just because you've seen some videos that are actually CGI and overlays, and it's been admitted even by the people that created the content. It's just like what's going on in Israel and Palestine. People are not even looking at what's coming out of the Israeli government and other government committees, international committees. They're not seeing what's coming out of that. They're just looking at their mainstream media, which is bought and paid for by the military, pharmaceutical, industrial complexes, who are bribing them through their advertisements, right? They're not paying for advertisements just to get their ads out there. No. That's a way of bribing the mainstream propaganda machines, which I would also include Johns Hopkins University and Harvard University. Right now, they used to be great institutions. Now they're also part of the PSYOPs propaganda machine, unfortunately, public affairs, whatever, and pushing craziness. Anyway. So the reason why Freemasons and countless other groups like the Skull and Bones and countless others, the reason why these organizations are trying to claim that we're a globe and that we're on a tilt off the sun by 23.4 degrees or 23.5 degrees, whatever you want to say, but they're only saying 23.5 degrees now to get away from the 6 points, like the very obvious 66.6 or the 666 connection that they were going for when they were talking about that. And they also want you to like not see that the sun's path above us, that like at our latitudinal and longitudinal lines of delineation, or how we like measure distances and stuff like that, and actually accurately like assess like locations with like 10 figure grids and stuff like that, and making sure you have the proper grid zone designations as well, equally important, and showing that it doesn't go beyond north or south latitude from the equator more than 23.4 or 23.5 degrees. Okay, so also how would that be possible if it's 93 million miles away, going with perfection, going through the constellations? Because it's very clear. More examples of like, try to find a tilt on a spinning ball, like on a tennis ball or a basketball. Like, it's just it's nonsensical to me that people actually believe that. If you actually understand astronomical mathematics, you can see the impossibility of what they're claiming as well. So I'm just going to get some more pictures. I put some pictures out of the Analema. Is that it? Yeah. And this is just like, this is a globe model, but like they're showing you in plain sight too, the sun's highest path and lowest path from the equator. Okay. And where it's furthest away and closest to the center of the earth above us traveling, and equal amount of day and night. And then you've got the winter and summer solstices, and also the Analema path that the sun follows, ladies and gentlemen. And so also more compelling evidence for this stuff. And so, and by the way, even the moon right now, the luminary that we're calling the moon, or Mary or Selin or Isis, etc. It's actually, it was like rising from the east southeast more, because again we're not in balance right now. We're moving towards springtime, like right, like March 21st ish is it's a month and a half away ish. And so it's getting like we're starting slowly to have like longer days. We still have longer periods of night, and then the moon is also rising right now. It's like the waning crescent heading towards a new moon, and then it will set eventually. But okay, so there was other news I wanted to talk about, but I've been already rambling on about flat earth stuff and luminaries and just more compelling evidence. Oh, actually, before I get into the dollar vigilante, some information from him. I'm gonna go through the whole video because it's good. I haven't watched the whole thing, but Tucker Carlson, he's gonna be talking to Putin and like any day now, and it's gonna be interesting what they actually talk about, because there's been a lot of propaganda in the news regarding Russia now for years, and I've also shared on my Instagram, and my Facebook, that the actual head of NATO, even before like fall of 2021, just when I was tracking, there might be an escalation of force, because I was saying also for years that like the more NATO puts like reinforcements and military like assets in and around Europe and around Ukraine and tries to push them to be a part of NATO, like this was what Russia was saying, like it would be an escalation of force. And even having like the head of friggin' NATO bragging about like, yeah, we didn't follow any of that stuff, like anything that would make it where there'd be like a diplomatic resolution, a reasonable one. We just basically said no, absolutely not. And in fact, we're going to do the opposite of that. And so actually, maybe I will pull it up. I don't know if I was actually even able to push it as to share it as a story. Actually, I was. And not letting me. Okay, I'll go on Twitter. See if I can find it there, just to give you a yalla. My profile. Okay, so I'm just going to share my Twitter screen.
Declared in the autumn of 2021, and he actually sent a draft treaty that they wanted NATO to sign to promise no more NATO enlargement. That was what he sent us, and that was a precondition for not invade Ukraine. Of course, we didn't sign that. The opposite happened. He wanted us to sign a promise never to enlarge NATO. He wanted us to remove our military infrastructure in all allies that have joined NATO since 1997, meaning half of NATO, all the Central and Eastern Europe. We should remove NATO from that part of our alliance, introducing some kind of E and B or second-class membership. We rejected that. So he went to war to prevent more NATO close to his borders. He has got the exact opposite. He has got more NATO presence in the eastern part of the alliance.
Yeah, so bragging, and there have been a lot of Ukrainians that have been killed. There's Canadians that have also been killed that people don't even know or understand. They're not tracking things. This is a leftist, or not a leftist, sorry, a liberal.
Sitting conservative MP.
And even though like she calls Pierre Poilievre mini Trump or whatever, she's just trying to elicit emotional response in people. I'm just going to share this because it was also interesting, because people are not calling out conservatives, and when they're doing wrong things as well, right? So like, what's the point? What's the point in voting conservative if they're just going to be another friggin' party that's going to like push us into a fucking civil war or a world war? Okay, and I've even showed that Pierre Poilievre has gone to the same schools as Justin Trudeau and other people that are part of like the same club that are fucking exploiting us. Okay, people that have shares and stocks and that are actual lobbyists, like she's actually saying, for multiple different companies that have no concern or care at all for Canada or Canadians, our best interests, our futures, none of that stuff. They don't give a shit. And even Elon Musk now, like talking about like carbon, issues. I'm actually looking at the moon right now. Anyway, the issues that we're having with what they're trying to call climate change is with, like, if you want to look at that, you're going to have to look at the 10 biggest contributors to pollution right now. And the greed and the profit from like the war and the therapeutics companies, because carbon as well are also used in like the testing of vaccines and other things as well. Like, people do not understand the level of how connected people are. Left and right now are part of the same friggin' bird. And unless people start addressing really big issues in the Conservative Party, then they're not going to get my vote either. I still think that it's important to vote. People say that it's a waste and that the elections are rigged. Sure. But now there's less accountability, and there's less people paying attention to the elections in Canada. And it used to be where a large majority of Canadians would be voting, and it was important. And it's steadily declined by design, right? Because again, like, the less people are paying attention to elections and who's in power and the political parties and stuff like that, they're easily able to like further increase the human and drug trafficking that's going on. That's also, again, exploiting Canadians from coast to coast, north and south. So hear this.
Lobby. Well, I guess we don't have to wonder anymore about why the government has been unsuccessful in getting control on grocery prices. It turns out that Walmart and Loblaws have the Conservative Party in their pockets. 2 sitting Conservative MPs are lobbyists for these big grocery outlets. Where does that leave us Canadians? And the hypocrisy of Tiny Trump standing up. Remember all that fucking turkey conversation at Christmas? What the hell was that all about? When he doesn't show up at the table with the Liberals to work together, and now we know why. It's always follow the fucking money, isn't it? It's a good example of someone like myself who's a lefty that has no representation here in Canada. Because where has Jagmeet been? Jagmeet must know this information. Why isn't that being screamed out every single time Tiny Trump stands up and tries to say grocery costs are a direct result of Trudeau? The scapegoating campaign, the deflection campaign. When those grocery store outlets have the Conservatives in their pockets. Fucking potato heads.
So she's not really that wrong. And people are trying to pass the buck. There are people that are members of fucking parliament. 338 people. Twiddle-dees and twiddle-dums right now. Fucking morons. No offense, but it's just a fact. Okay, I've been following your work for several years now. Fucking 2 thumbs down. Okay, fucking 2 fucking thumbs fucking down. Fucking people. Not even remotely qualified. Again, it was like such a fucking woke diversity hire. And look what the fuck happened with that. And again, I'm swearing on a Sunday. I'm really, really sorry. Oh my God, my grandmother is like fucking hating me from above. I'm so sorry. And yeah, and I'm not disagreeing either with I don't even know if you saw that, but I'll go back on Twitter because people are calling out Russia as well for being part of it. I don't think you're wrong. I also said that because
President Putin declared.
If you can see my replies, I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, I was even saying about Russia because Tucker's going to Russia, and I'm like, I wonder if he'll talk about the fake moon landings that he knew about before his office told him. Yeah, and he's even calling it out. But like, I mean, Elon, you're also a big fucking spreader of propaganda. So this was my comment on this guy. So you started it. Jail this treasonous POS. Like this guy I'm talking about. Like actually admitting that he escalated tensions and war against like a key fucking superpower. And again, Vladimir Putin profited a lot off of this as well. Clearly, just in case people are not tracking their economy and what's going on with them right now, they're doing fine. Ukraine, not so much. You have people that are doctors, lawyers, dentists, etc., that are getting picked up on their way to work and to serve the military. And women also, more women are having to go in the military. I think the average age now of those serving is like 47. You know, NATO, people in NATO, they don't care. They're lobbyists. They're getting so much fucking money from this. Yeah, so I've watched almost 47 minutes. This is from Stanton. I don't agree with everything that's shown and shared in this video, because even with this, that's the Star of David, the Solomon seal. It's it has like the 2701, the 666 significance, and it's like sacred gematria. It's a sacred symbol that transcends any religion, right? This is astrotheosophy.
It's Lucy and Jeff going for walks and talks, talk about banksters and Bitcoin and the apocalypse and stuff. It's Lucy and Jeff and tacos and kisses.
It's like a weird intro.
What do you think about war, Lucy? I don't go into war too much. Us Chihuahuas, we don't have armies and stuff, but you know, if you try to take my tacos, then you better get your ankle guards on.
Oh, ankle!
Yeah, war. It's all about war now.
It's a war going on. Yeah, it's a war going
You know, a lot of people will say
God told me to
that,
write itself, spread love.
you know, it's just a natural part of humanity. And if you look back at history, especially over the last few thousand years, which is in Kali Yuga, it did appear that there was a lot of people who would always be attacking other people. Not all the time, but lots of various factions. Obviously, what you hear about the barbarians, they always call them the bad names. A lot of the people that they think were wasn't on their side. Barbarians, Mongols, the Europeans, always warring with each other. And a lot of people seem to think it's a bit of a part of human nature. I'm not so sure of that. I actually don't think it's as much as people think. But we are in Kali Yuga. And so in Kali Yuga, it definitely seems to be a part of it. And we haven't had massive sort of wars recently in the last 100 years. Well, 100 years, yes. Since basically World War II was the last giant one.
Yeah, so he's going to mention Afghanistan, but like he's going to, I don't agree with everything he says, but there's a lot of good stuff in here.
Although there's been lots, and a lot of them are all started by the same people, the globalists / backed by the Jews. And, you know, there's been lots of heinous stuff. Vietnam War, Korean War, which is just insane. That's all US stuff. So there's been lots and lots of war stuff. But when I say recently there hasn't been as much, there hasn't really been any big war stuff. Well, I'm kind of wrong on that too, because look at Afghanistan, but that wasn't really a war. That was, again, the US government coming in and killing tons of innocent people. Same in Iraq. So I'm not so sure if war is like a natural part of human existence. I think it's actually mostly caused by the same people, certainly in modern history. And it's generally, actually, the Jews, not all Jews, but a lot of the people who call themselves Jews are the globalist types. And whether the Khazarians or whatever they are. But now they see.
So I don't know about the American. There's some people that are asking about security clearances. I'm Canadian, and so I have top secret government clearance, Canada, and worked special forces, second in command of a squadron, and then also like high level contracts with like the highest levels of government. And you have to give basically every friggin' address and like that you've ever basically had, driver's licenses, phone numbers, so much information about like family, extended family. They look at everything. You can't have a criminal record, like none of that stuff. And then it takes it's a long process to go through. So, and you have to go through the clearances, through the different stages of the clearances, and so from unclassed to like classified, and then you've got secret, and then like there's enhanced and stuff like that as well, and top secret, but like there's different paperwork and applications that you have to put through for each of those levels, and even talking about like people from within the military and other organizations that work with them, because I've worked with all friggin' levels of government in the international community, but especially within Canada, and people legitimately, they're just not read into it. Like they do not legitimately know the reality of the world because it's never been part of like their realm or their subject matter expertise or their career involvement, and so they just didn't look. They're not looking into this stuff, and they don't believe it because they're getting a lot of pushback from people that are saying that this is stupid, and they're involving themselves with the space agencies and the astronauts and stuff like that, and they're getting bamboozled, and they're falling for all the friggin' like the sunshine and rainbows and the prestige and the power and the ego lift that comes with like associating with these groups, and it's they're just not. They're just distracted. And it's unfortunate because people like Wayne Eyre, who is our chief of defense staff, he's destroyed our military from the inside, completely collapsed it. Our leaders now, our lobbyists, they don't care at all about our future or even like our present. And it's very clear. And it's such a friggin' dog and pony show in cabinet. And again, people that are pretending that they're calling people out. And then you'll see photo ops that are taking people, leaking photos of them like handshakes or like elbow pounding, you know what I mean? Like saying, hey, we're on the same side and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, cool. So you're all against us. That's what you're showing us. So what's the fucking point? And it's even going on with the US as well, right? People are looking at JFK, or not JFK, the Kennedy guy, the friggin' anti-vaccine friggin' guy. RFK. Anyway, he's going as a libertarian, even though he's a Republican, and people think that that's going to be the answer. And it's the same thing with Maxime Bernier. He's the People's Party of Canada, and he's also someone that has been sharing good content and good information that has been on the right side of humanity now since the beginning, and has been calling out things that were key issues to address from the very beginning, and was very much censored within Canada, even arrested at times too, like especially during the pandemic, and speaking out on immigration and beyond, and also not the answer. These are all people that are part of like the same friggin' team.
Seem to be really intent on.
Yeah, I could go on a tangent, but I'll leave it.
Doing all kinds of wars in every single way you can imagine. But who's it all being done by? It's all being done by the same people again. And I don't think your average person actually even wants any of these wars. Like even World War I, like no one even knew why they were fighting. So that's the thing is a lot of people will, they've been duped into this whole statism thing and fighting for your country which is again mostly an idea of the same sort of people, the globalist types, sort of the Jew types. And like I said, in World War I, no one even knew why they're fighting, but they fought. And actually it got to a point where they just stopped, and the generals had to almost force them to keep fighting. And then the same in World War II. Almost all of that what they say about it, where's Lucy? Almost all of what they say about it is lies. A lot of people still think it was all about fighting for freedom and the Nazis were evil and all this kind of stuff. No, it was way, way more than that. It was all set up by the same people, all backed by the same people, both sides. And of course, they tell everyone stories of what, you're fighting for the good side and all that kind of stuff. But it's the same old thing. Just the same old thing, and people keep falling for it. That's really the story of war, is that people keep falling for it and doing it. And we'll see if they fall for it again. I think they probably will. If human history is any indication, it seems like they always do. I don't actually personally get it. If you said, Jeff, Canada's I was born in Canada, so I've got a Canadian slave card called a passport. I'd love to get rid of it just so I have nothing to do with them anymore, but because I want nothing.
See, this is what bothers me too. He's a bit of a hypocrite. Again, he shares some good stuff, but another Canadian that fled instead of holding the friggin' line and staying here, even though it's been fucking awful.
To do with the Canadian.
I've gone through this. My life has been destroyed too, buddy. I've been fucking harassed and stalked and targeted. You're still Canadian.
Government.
But he'll use his passport as convenient.
But it's actually still my best passport I have for traveling, so I still have it.
He's leaving women here to hold the line and fight the fucking battle against government. Current government. Again, we've had great people within government before. They've just been fired or just not entertained for these positions because other people are getting hired that are friends and family of the people that are currently serving. And they know that as soon as they get out of these positions of leadership, that it's all going to be a house of cards that's going to fall down, and every single one of them are going to be investigated, and there's going to be a lot of people going to jail, and we're going to celebrate, and it's going to be happy times because a lot of people that I know personally and myself, we've been harassed and targeted by law enforcement on the wrong side of the law for sharing the truth that they're fucking corrupt heroes. I don't know what you want, they're the people that are idolizing or protecting, that they're pushing against us, and it's not helping anyone. And we're at dire times right now. I don't mean to sound dramatic, but there's so much being pushed on us, and even with the Freedom Convoy, that was something that was staged and planned at the highest levels by people that are also leftists. The biggest funders were leftists. So even with January 6th, I've given a lot of information about that overwhelming and about who was also funding people, including crisis actors and role players and people within government of all levels that were embedded. And yes, there were also government, including law enforcement, that were also duped and even said on the record legitimately that they were set up and put on the line of fire, just to be exploited, right? And just to cause chaos. And that was going to be something that they wanted to usher in more restrictions and take away more freedoms, just like Hitler did with the Reichstag incident. I keep mispronouncing it. I'm so sorry about that. But their parliament that burnt, they try to blame it on a communist leftist extremist, and it was not at all. And even if you actually take the time to look at archived records and even SS Nazis, their accounts in the courts that even drove this guy to the Reichstag that evening, the fires were already set. This is witness testimony from people that are German, probably not alive anymore, on the record saying this stuff. And so false flags that were created, and then literally within the next day, that was blamed on communists, extremists, and then there was a lot more freedoms taken away from Germans. And there were also Germans when Adolf Hitler, who was a socialist, a leftist, look that up, especially when he came into power. But even the early 20s, this is common knowledge. And then even in the late 30s, when he became the leader, like he was a leftist, he was a socialist, and then he became painted as a right-wing extremist, etc., and rightfully so, because he was extreme, absolutely. But I will also reiterate that every country that was surrounding him within Europe, they were leftist communist countries, and that's where the most crimes against humanity were committed, and the atrocities in Auschwitz and these places. These are Poland and Austria, the concentration camps, the death camps, where a lot of atrocities were committed, not just against people that follow Judaism, but people that were poor, people that were of color, people of a lot of Christians too, and that this is not acknowledged. And the numbers have also been corrected, even in Austria, as to the amount of people that were in fact slaughtered, executed. There's no doubting that. And at the end of World War II is when most of that happened as well. I could go on a list about World War I, World War II, false flags, Pearl Harbor, and even after with Japan, with multiple balloon attacks within North America and America that people don't even know about. But
he said, Jeff, Canada's under attack. It's the Russians or something. I'm like, well, good thing I'm not there. Like, I'm gonna be going back. It's like, well, I was born there. It's like, so what? Who cares? Like, my family's from Scotland, half of them, the Berwicks.
And also, fun fact that I completely stopped saying, but when Adolf Hitler came into power officially, he executed over 1,000 people within the German government and academics from different education systems and beyond, and political activists from within Germany that were trying to stop all of this stuff from happening, right? So even within Canada, a small minority of people were calling this out, and there was almost $200 million set aside for government and people working with government. So lawyers, a lot of lawyers within Ottawa, in Ontario, Toronto, they were bought. So they're now millionaires. And that's why when people like myself and Helen Bruce and Jeremy McKenzie and other people were trying to get lawyers here, we kept on getting this conflict of interest. No, thank you. Oh, we're too small of a firm. All of this stuff we would never win, because the government, with our taxpayers' dollars, funded people to go after people within government that were going again, that were trying to resist and not resist as in like because of memes and because of YouTube. We were giving medical, scientific, and government data coming from other countries as well. And actually even within our own government that was getting censored by people that were completely ignorant and completely underqualified for their jobs. And a lot of harm and death would have been prevented had people like Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland and Marco Mendicino and Omar Alghabra and all of these people, if they actually would have just did their jobs, and Wayne Eyre included in that, and Major General Forte before him, who was also pushing for the COVID mandates as well. Okay, so I don't agree with the sex scandal and stuff like that he was involved in. And I think that was a lot and over exaggerated just to ruin someone's career. And again, that's not the way to do it, right? And it is what it is. Brenda Lucky as well, head of the RCMP, pushing the woke agenda, using the pronouns, no clue in the world as to what's really going on. And these are the people that were going against people that were within government and working for government that were trying to share this information. $200 million worth of money thrown to destroy our lives. And it worked. And Helen Bruce, over $100,000 now, is still in court fees. She's an Ottawa Police Services detective, I'll reiterate. And she was part of the sexual assault child abuse unit for over 7 years, which is why she was aware of these sudden infant deaths, why there was she was able to see the trend really greatly increase after the approval of the therapeutics for children. And then the weekend of the Freedom Convoy, she was suspended as well. And phones tapped and stuff like that. She and I were in the same network community, sharing information on Signal and Telegram on different means. And so I was targeted by law enforcement and stuff like that, even at that point, because, and again, I was like 1.5 kilometers away from Huntmar, the actual station where these fucking people are doing the actual court hearings and stuff like that to destroy her life. And she has kids. And so there's food like not on the table with her kids. And she's someone that's well known in the community for helping others. So that money is not going towards helping anyone within the communities either. And the same thing for me, and the same thing for countless other people.
If Scotland was under
We don't have $200 million to hire lawyers.
attack by somebody, would I do something? No. Unless, you know, I thought it was like something else other than that, like some sort of existential sort of a thing. Or my other side of my family's French. It's like, Jeff, France is under attack. I don't care. Actually, the one place I would care is if Mexico was under attack. And that's just because I'm here and my whole family's here. And if there's a war here, then we're inside the war, basically. And so I have to do something. But would I fight for the Mexican government necessarily? Only if I thought that it was doing good things and it was the only best way for me to survive what was going on and to stop this sort of attack. But other people, they're just born somewhere and they just sign up to fight for the government, and the government just sends them off to go kill people. And no one seems to question. I've always found it quite weird. Even though my mom put me in the Navy Cadets when I was like 10 years old. Too smart for this.
And spoiler alert, like, I'm sorry, this is one thing where I disagree with him. I think we do need to have warriors in societies. All species have their own protectors, providers, and warriors within their collective environments in order to defend and like the women, the children, the more vulnerable of their species. And it's the same thing for humans. Okay, so even within Canada, we need to have a military. It doesn't mean that they should be going out and just like needlessly murdering people. That's crazy. Okay, and that's crazy. But they're still needed, and there are bad people in the world, believe it or not, people. Okay, and they're people that do not have your best interest at heart, and we see that on a very fucking regular basis. And there are people that need to be protected against these people. Okay, the people that call 911 because they have they were given 9 chicken nuggets because of 10. These are the people that need to be protected. Like and even our younger generation now, they're very soft, they're very weak. It's not even their fault. It's because of the messaging on social media, and they're not taking it seriously. How we're raising our children to be victims and disabled in various different ways. Where there are other countries where they're focusing on their children being strong, fit, educated. Got to wake up. Got to see it for what it is.
That's basically what they said. I remember the conversation. So, you know, we got to get you away from these guys because, you know, the way you talk, they're not gonna fall for they're not gonna turn into mind-controlled robots. So you can be like a high-level officer, or we're gonna have to ask you to leave because this isn't working out. And I was like, well, what does it pay to be an officer? And they're like, well, it starts at like $35,000 a year. And I was like, fuck it, I'm out of here. So I left.
Yeah. So and so those friggin' immigrants, and again, this could be crisis actors because there are even the border issue, what's going on in the U.S. They're trying to make a civil war at the border, and even with Biden, with like the 50% of people since 2017 are 50% in or around are white, and so or 49% are white and 51% are now the majority. And of course 2017 you've got the 2701, the 1207 connection as well with when he says things like that, and they're just messing with us.
And so yeah, I was actually in the military. So my mom, you know, just like a lot of people, is like, well, you got to join your country's military. Oh, yeah, my baby's like pointing, and he's like, yeah, there's his hat. Thanks for letting me know. All right, let's go get the hat.
So, and so even for Helen, even just to get access to her investigative notes, that's being denied by Chris Renwick, who's actually also bought and paid for, and very, very biased and one-sided. It's very clear. And he's not allowing her to have any witnesses or anything like that. Yet he's having the prosecution have witnesses that are even family members like sister-in-laws included, that are people that are not even like competent and being slandered, and it's just so much. And so she's trying to like her lawyer, they're trying to get information, but it's being like these hearings are being tampered with, and like now more lies, like not access to it, to any evidence that she needs, and like just frustrating stuff. And so now the courts are like, it's further delayed. Her lawyers, they're from Alberta, because no one in Ontario, she couldn't find anyone from Ontario. And so Alberta, they have to fly in. It's a team. And this is just for her to keep her friggin' job, over 20 years of service. And they're trying to destroy her life. And she was giving the same information that I was giving on COVID and the Freedom Convoy. And I was saying that it was staged and planned, and that there was going to be plans, and don't fall for it. And I was sharing Brian Fox with the flag and the balaclava, who's a leftist, who's a liberal donator, head of enterprise, a millionaire. That is the one that was trying to incite a riot. I showed the photos of him like in Parliament with even Justin Trudeau's photographer and law enforcement sellouts that were around him, okay, as they were going in and out of Parliament. This was the same thing as January 6th. That's why I was saying don't get duped for it. That's why I went that first weekend and I was at the friggin' gates, you know, and I'm just like, don't do anything crazy. If you see anything, just record it and call them out, you know. And then there were drones around me, and I was just like waving. Like I saw the sniper teams like everywhere. I'm like, fuck, you know, like this is just, it is what it is. But what's going on at the border right now as well, they want people to go to Texas. They want, like, that's why Dr. Phil's involved too. Like he wants to get his 15 minutes of fame back. You know, anyone that wants to be relevant, they're going to go there and get their photo op. And it's just to create a friggin' civil war. Like, and you're not seeing it, right? And everyone is going to be like, friggin', let's do it. And if you look even 500 meters down the road in some areas, like there's open gates where you're free to walk in or out.
So Mom would have been mad at me, so thank you. But yeah, even my own parents, it's like, that's what you do. You sign your kids up to fight for your country, protect your country.
Yeah, well, you should.
And, you know, there is something to that. Like I said, like I would if the U.S., which they talk about all the time, says they're going to come down and attack Mexico to stop the drug cartels, I'd probably I'd definitely do something to stop them. I might even get incredibly involved in trying to stop them. So I kind of understand it. But then again, that's all done by who controls the U.S.? The globalists / the Jews. And they're actually the ones creating all this border problems as well, which I'll get into. But anyway, so yeah, I really don't know what the answer is, because humanity is so dumbed down and they're such slaves, and they're so, like I said, dumbed down, that they just continue on whenever their government tells them to go kill someone, they do. And there's like not much questioning of it. And the people in control of all these things know all this, of course.
Not anymore.
And so they use it all against them. And of course, they set everything up as well to fool people, like 9/11. Oh, look, the Muslims just attacked us. Oh, really? Was that what we discovered? Well, there was a passport found 6 blocks from the World Trade Center. It was a guy from Saudi Arabia, so...
Another development on Saturday,
Yeah, that was
New York
BS.
officials revealed at a news conference here in the city that a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that. No other details were given, but the discovery prompted the FBI and police to expand the search area down in Lower Manhattan.
Yeah, even the news announcer is like, if you can believe this, like I'm sure when he was reading it, he's like, I can't believe it. They're making me read this. Like, who's going to believe this? But everyone did. Like, well, there's Osama bin Laden in a cave in Afghanistan. Case closed. Go kill 500,000 kids in Iraq. Kill tons of people. Goat farmers in Afghanistan.
It's not exactly how it happened.
And that's how they do it. Same with the whole Israel thing. False flag again on
His name is Dollar Vigilante.
October 7th. Totally, no one talks about it anymore. You ever notice that? It's amazing how
So October 7th, and on February 7th, that was 119 days after the start of this staged and planned proxy fucking war for money. Was when the U.S. started getting involved in the Middle East more with friggin' bombs and stuff like that. So, it's a friggin' running joke. And like 119 days, what's the coincidence with that?
quickly people just forget.
Just a coincidence, I guess.
No one's questioned. How did the most secure area in the world, the most watched area, get completely breached for 8 hours straight and no one even noticed? And then the Israel people came in and killed everyone in the whole area under their Hannibal directive or whatever it's called. But no one even talks about that. If they do talk about it, it's like, well, Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th. It's like, are you sure? Because like, there's not really any evidence of that. And even if there is, Hamas is controlled and backed by Israel.
That's a fact.
But anyway, so this is all going
In the
to
U.S.
probably turn into like World War III. And it's all on purpose.
It's not wrong.
And in the meantime, they're also trying to start a civil war in the U.S. with, yeah, we're going to the park. Don't worry. We're almost there.
There's crisis actors and government in bed, by the way, at the border. And so, like, when you're seeing these groups, it's just like this is what I mean. I get so fudging frustrated because it's literally the same playbook. Like, I just can't. Why are we not learning? Like, January 6th, there was a lot of government plans and there were a lot of crisis actors that were pretending they were government as well. And there were like mainstream media and independent media that were also there. How did they know? Why did they know? Even days and weeks prior to these events. This is the same thing that's happening now. So there's people literally friggin' that are so angry and annoyed and frustrated with their lives right now in the US. Okay. And they need a friggin' excuse and something to friggin' go to, right? And if you can like spin it into something that's virtuous and protecting or saving the friggin' country or nation, of course people are going to fall for that, right? Just like January 6th. Even people that were peaceful, not even present, are in jail right now. People that were not even there are in jail right now. There are people that were part of the Freedom Convoy that were actually on the right side of humanity and actually trying to organize and just enable it to be something like a movement because we were not getting heard. They're still in jail. There are people, and there's still people that are awaiting court hearings and could possibly get jail. And the Freedom Convoy, the Emergency Act was unconstitutional, illegal, treasonous, as we were saying. And people like Helen Bruce, the reason why she was suspended that weekend, and people like me were targeted from government schmucks on the wrong side of the law. Again, they're actually the minority, believe it or not. They just have the loudest, most annoying voices, and they push, and they're at the positions where they're allowed to do whatever the frig they want. Okay, and look what happens to people that go against them. Okay, there's a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars thrown at them to go after less than 5,000 people in Canada that are trying to help Canada and save Canada from this mess, if you want to be dramatic, and the U.S. and obviously with the U.S., it would be 10 times that amount that would have been allocated towards any kind of dissenting voices. That money would have been utilized to target them specifically, also including people to troll accounts or report accounts, things of that nature.
The UN and Soros and actually the Jews are going to get into that. Like it's the Jews are a huge part of this, bringing in people from across the world, mostly fighting age males, and somehow getting them to the Mexican border. And I'm still confused how they get there. Like, I know a lot of people say they go through the Darien Gap or something, but that doesn't even make sense. If you're going to bring people over from like Africa and bring them into the US through the Mexico borders, because you have to bring them in through somewhere, right? Why would you bring them to like Colombia and make them go through one of the most dangerous areas in the world, the Darien Gap, and walk all the way up through like 8 different countries, all through Mexico to the border? And I've never seen any of them in Mexico. I've never really seen a bunch of people in El Salvador or Nicaragua say, look at all these migrants. Like maybe there is some, but I haven't seen a lot. I think they probably just fly them right into Tijuana. That's probably what they do, because I still haven't really seen it.
And there are people hired by the
But anyway, they're
UN
doing that.
and brought in.
Of course, trying to evoke
being
a lot of reaction to that. There's always so many sides to these plans they've got. And that's what makes it so hard to basically fight against what these people are doing, because they're so smart. They control everything, and they've been doing this for a long time. Like, it's possible they're even the Nephilim.
So I don't believe in that, or like even calling these people Jews, I don't like, or Zionists. Like these are just people that are not good people, that are exploiting humanity and the earth for profit and greed and stuff like that. That are not good people. They're not people that are, in my humble opinion, that are demon possessed or any of that stuff. These are people that are accessing their lower level dark sides, like their evil sides. And like this possession, like this, just again, it removes accountability from the person to be a good person. Like, oh, I was just possessed, or oh, I was just drunk, or whatever. Like, no, you were just being a shitty human being. and so it takes a lot of strength and effort to resist temptations. And I know that for a fact. I know that for a fact. Like even like with alcohol and things like that I've struggled with, you know, with addiction, it's really hard. It's really hard to resist the urge, especially when it's something that makes you feel more calm and disconnected from the chaos, you know, and just like not feeling so overwhelmed, right? Like it's just like such an easy, quick fix, but also makes things significantly worse and removes the connection to spirit or God, the creator. And it also doesn't allow us to access our higher level emotions, right? So when you're stuck emotionless, then you're, anyway, got all these tangents, but like the very low vibration people are people that I think are demonic, that are evil people, and however they want to justify it, or if they want to say that they have like an alter ego, like a lot of these celebrities are saying as well, and musicians are saying, oh, I have an alter ego. No, you don't, right? Like you're just an actor, and that's your excuse in order to project that actor, that archetype that you want to display. That's your justification for it, right? It's still crazy, okay? But like this whole thing, like a split personalities, these are just people that are trying to justify being shitty human beings and put it on something else beyond themselves. And it takes a lot of hard work to be healthy, right? Filtering water, being aware of that stuff, trying to eat as organic as possible, trying to be a compassionate, caring, loving human being, and practicing that patience and stuff like that, and forgiveness, even with people that don't deserve it. Like even people that are hurt, like there are people that do need, like unfortunately they need the healing and the more love and caring, but there are also people that are just not healable in this earth plane, unfortunately, as well. And so, but it's on us, right? There's no excuses. So the people that are like so people like Anita Anand, who are still, like, she's still a member of parliament in the defense area. She has zero business being in that position. And her husband profited multi-millions of dollars from the pandemic as well. Him with the vaccine testing companies, the PCR testings that were that were pushing false positives with how they were cycling the machines, like for testing, duplicate like testing vials in the same in the same environment as it was being tested, and not being able to tell the difference between the flu and COVID even now, and so like this was all a farce on our dime, and still the nerve of these people to actually like be in cabinet, sitting members of cabinet. It just these are the people that need to be fired and criminally investigated, and instead we have people that are doubling down and further reinforcing, like enabling them to be there.
And if they are, they've been doing it for 10,000 years.
And we say like, oh, like World War II, oh, I would have done better. I would have done better. So Canada, we clearly people that are in government of all levels and people working with government, like these corporations that were working with them and also lying to us. Like you showed exactly whose side you were on. You would have been on in Europe, right? You are the absolute Nazis of Canada, and you've proven that. And luckily, there was more people like me that were speaking out on this stuff, even at risk to ourselves and our lives. All of that stuff, to be dramatic, lost contracts, multi-million-dollar contracts, had to move. So like you have no idea what I've gone through, even myself. Like it's still stuff that I can't even talk about yet. And I need a lawyer. Yeah.
Or more. And they're so ingenious on how they do these things. And so a lot of people are just like, well, there's a lot of people coming in and they're coming in illegally and, you know, they're destroying basically the US, which is pretty true.
And they're getting their tickets paid for and their travel all coordinated and planned and staged by people like the Red Cross and the UN and other organizations that are also like connecting themselves to religious groups, even though they're not remotely religious or God or God believing people. These are the demons incarnated, right? Like they were calling like all of these other things. Like, no, these are human beings that are just shitty human beings.
And so we got to go and fight on the border, basically. And then you have the U.S. Federal government fighting with the state governments, probably all controlled too. If you look at the state governor of Texas, he's a World Economic Forum guy. So they control everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, no great country
Greg Abbott, I think his name is.
can say it is secure without being able to control its borders. Period.
Bill before us will certainly do some good. It will authorize some badly needed funding for better fences and better security along our borders. And that should help stem some of the tide of illegal immigration in this country.
I've been arguing for the need to put more protection at our borders, meaning that you have more border guards. This president, refusing to add the number of border guards, now said he has to send the National Guard down. He vetoed. He was against adding the number of border guards. I only can suggest the reason he was is because he needed that money for his tax cuts that were unnecessary.
I voted for a fence. I voted, unlike most Democrats, some of you won't like it. I voted for 700-mile fence. People are driving across that border with funds. Hear me.
They control both sides, and they just try to create chaos constantly. Like this world would be so quiet without these globalists / Jews / possibly Nephilim that are just constantly causing problems. And the problem is that people fall for it so much. And really a big part of the problem is that people have fallen for statism, which is a big part of what they do. And they become so powerful because of that, because they've got massive amounts of capital from people paying taxes in places like the US, like trillions of dollars per year. And that they steal most of that. And then they control the central banks, which lends the money to the governments. And they make even more money on that stuff. And because of that, they've become so wealthy and powerful because people have fallen for all their tricks, including statism. Just the whole idea of, well, you have to pay taxes, which is obviously just theft or extortion, but they've used mind control over a long time, using television programming and all that kind of stuff to basically get most people to think that's completely normal. It's just normal to be extorted and stolen. Most of your money is stolen because, you know, it's your social contract or your patriotic duty or all these things. But because people have fallen for all these things, and they've fallen in line so much too, with all their regulations. As soon as the government makes a regulation in the West, everybody does it. It's not even like there's nothing. Like they just, well, that's what the government says. The people who own us say that And so we got to do it. And because of all these decades of people doing that, they're so super powerful now that it's almost impossible to stop them. Like they even have weather weapons now. And, you know, they attack places like Acapulco, and most people just have no idea. And if I try to tell them, they'll be like, oh, you're crazy. It's like, okay. So yeah, I really don't know how you even stop it at this point. And that's really why my main sort of thing is to do the work on yourself, to meditate and all that kind of stuff. Get to a point where you realize this is all just a dream or a 3D video game, and then it doesn't even really matter. And by doing that, you kind of separate yourself from the system anyway. And if lots of people did that, we'd actually have pretty much paradise on Earth for the most part, if people did that. But we're still a long ways away from a lot of people doing that. Although that is changing too. We are seeing an awakening happening. A lot of people have noticed this. A lot of people are saying this. Certainly since I started in, about, what is it, like 15 years ago now, talking about all this stuff, there's been a massive amount of people who have woken up to this stuff. The COVID's really helped. It was like, I was like, they're doing all this. They're going to try to kill everyone on Earth. They've got you so enslaved. You won't be able to do anything without like a facial recognition. You won't be able to like even travel unless they inject you with stuff. And people thought I was crazy. And then the COVID's happened and it woke up tens or hundreds of millions of people, which is a lot. And all the lockdowns and stuff. And so it's a very, very interesting time with people really, a lot of people waking up, and the globalist types really pushing it as far as they possibly can right now. And there is some pushback, but it's so tricky how they do everything that if I was going to gamble, are the globalists / Jews / Nephilim?
Yep, still human. I'm just agreeing with someone that's making a comment about people like not being actual demons. They're still human. I totally agree with that. I've been saying that now for a very long time. It does not mean that I don't believe that there's a creator. I absolutely do. And I believe that we're following a divine clock that was created for us to experience this earth plane, and that we and that the way like to live this game is by accessing the highest level of consciousness and emotions and awareness that we can, and also through resisting temptations and things like that, trying to live as good of a life as you possibly can, and also being of service to others. And for some people that just doesn't sound fun, you know, and it is what it is.
I'm going to win in the next 10 years, or is humanity kind of going to win? I'd bet on the globalists / Jews / Nephilim, because most people still have no idea about all their tricks, and they keep falling for them. And in many ways, this border crisis sort of thing is just another one of their tricks. And, you know, one of the big things they do, one of their tricks too, see, they've got numerous level tricks. It's ingenious. It's almost like it's a non-human force who's like doing all this, because you can barely believe like human intelligence can be this unbelievably nefarious and intelligent. And one of the big things is their whole democracy thing, which is a total scam. And so well shown to be that in the movie The Jones Plantation. If you have not seen this movie, you have to see it, and try to see it with normies, because it actually will break them out of their mind control. At the end of that movie, a lot of people will go, they'll start to recognize that's exactly what they're doing in their lives. And so if you don't know it, jonesplantationfilm.com. And actually, Larkin Rose just finished the book for it too. And he'll be bringing a number of the book. It just came out, the Jones Plantation book.
I want a lawyer specifically to go against education systems, health systems in place in Canada, especially in Ontario. And then also like the federal government, like people within cabinet specifically, I want to go after Wayne Eyre, the chief of defense staff, in a legal way. That's what I want these lawyers for. I'm not finding it. It would be that I'm being told it would be like a civil lawyer. I've been trying. I've reached out to multiple different lawyer firms within Ontario and beyond, and it's still it's going nowhere. And with even sharing that I've shared scientific, medical, and government data to these people, Public Health Ontario, all of these people for years, and even sharing memorandums, creating memorandums multiple pages long with a bunch of legal stuff in there as well, and for soldiers to submit to their chains of command for vaccine exemptions that were not even minuted or actioned by their chain of command, which is also something that is treasonous. Like you are like officers, you're obligated to minute and action official military correspondence that is directed towards you, especially something that's significant. And so I have all of this proof. I have the sent messages. I have the receipts. I have all the data compiled. And so it's a slam dunk. I just need to get someone that's willing to look at the information. I've even reached out to Donald Best, who's fairly popular within Ontario. He's also covering the Helen Gruss trial, and he's been on Viva Frei, and countless others, people that have been part of other legal teams. I've tried to reach out, like even Brendan Miller, and I've given him all the information. Like even for the Emergency Act hearings, I gave that information during that and prior to that to their teams, and they acknowledged that they received it. And but it's just like, get on board with me, But again, I'm not a freaking millionaire. I need to this is why also with this content, if this could get me on like a more viral platforms, then this could be like a money-making short-term solution while my contracts are still getting refused and ignored in government because what I'm sharing goes against what they're pushing, right? And I understand that even with the education systems, like things would have to like completely be overhauled, right? So even Mark Sargent was saying yesterday that he's been invited to a university within the US for alternative theories, even though it's reality he's going to be discussing, and invited to that. And I would love to go on a panel with that and show my own research. And not that he would need friggin' help. Like he's been at this for years. He's one of the originals that started sharing flat Earth data online. And then Dave Weiss with his app that he created, the Flat Earth Sun Moon Clock app. This is also like, again, where we can compile data to easily access that we're not getting from censored media browsers. And so even within Canada, like I've tried to reach out and have sent messages and phone calls to Carleton University, heads of departments, professors, and they have ignored me. And like that's not being very professional or scientific of them. And so this is also like people that are actually willingly refusing to even acknowledge people that could possibly be giving them information that is revolutionary and gets us back on track to discuss the reality of the world to our future generations and get us unstuck and then get us out of this like low vibration state that we're in because of all the deceit and lies that are being perpetuated, and the geoengineering, the chemtrails, the weather modification, the natural disasters that are man-made and such would be mitigated.
Book, which is going to be quite a bit different than the movie even. And then they'll bring it back a little bit with the other guy. And then people feel like, well, at least, we're free. So we have the option or the right to vote, which can change these things, which it doesn't. It's all a scam. But anyway, most of these people coming in to the US, they're all being brought in by the Jews.
Over 8 million illegal immigrants have crossed the United States southern border since Joe Biden.
By people that are pretending that they're Jews, that are hiding behind that religion, who are shitty human beings.
Biden took office. And a lot of people are asking, why would the United States allow what is effectively an invasion of its southern border under this government? The man that's in charge of the US border, Alejandro Mayorkas, is actually an immigrant himself. being from a Cuban Jewish family who fled Cuba after the Cuban Revolution in the 1960s. But what not a lot of people know is that Mayorkas was actually a member of the board of directors of HIAS, or the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, which is one of the biggest NGOs pushing open borders in the United States. And he was a board member right up until the point where he moved to become the Secretary of Homeland Security. On their website, HIAS describes itself as a Jewish organization dedicated to the rights of asylum seekers and refugees. In 2017, it organized the Jews for Refugees Assembly, which brought together over 50 very powerful Jewish organizations in the United States, including the ADL, to lobby for more asylum seekers into the United States and to oppose Donald Trump's ban on immigration from Muslim countries. HIAS gets over $100 million a year from the government that Mayorkas is a part of, and that funding has only exploded since 2020. Now it has been discovered that HIAS is directly facilitating the invasion of the United States southern border by helping immigrants cross the so-called Darien Gap, which connects South America to the American continent. They have a dedicated building used as a processing facility there and are using their funding to help build roads and other forms of transport to help immigrants reach North America. They've even produced maps in Spanish to explain to immigrants how to best reach the United States southern border. Mayorkas is apparently aware of this and has even visited these facilities. Now, this seems like a conflict of interest, yet it hardly gets discussed in mainstream immigration discussions.
Yeah, the HIAS is facilitating the current invasion of America's southern border. They help migrants at critical points, such as handing out maps for the passage from Central America to Texas and providing transportation and aid and buildings. Yeah, Jewish Family Services is literally helping process all the illegal immigrants into the U.S.
What was that? Oh, no, I can. No, I can. Thank you. What's your name?
No.
Who are you guys with?
We can answer that question.
Jewish Family Services. So there we go. That's one of them. So why were you telling people not to talk?
Because you're being rude to them.
You're in a free country now. Yeah. Don't let people like this tell you what to do, okay? You're in a free country now. That's what America is, a free country. Is there anyone here from your organization that can talk to us? They're calling somebody. I'm sorry you guys have to see this. Unfortunately, a lot of the organizations that are pretending to help are just making money. These guys make money off of your suffering, unfortunately. So I'm sorry you have to see that. I was having some good conversations with people online. She went up and rudely told them not to talk to me. I asked her why they shouldn't be talking to me, and she said I was being rude to them. This is it though. You got these controlling communist organizations that then they have people come in through this process. They make money on all this. They get grants from the federal government, which you pay for, taxpayers pay for, and then the people come across. I want to talk to them. We're having a good conversation, and she shuts them down. This is the problem. These organizations are the problem, and they're making millions of dollars. And this whole new CVP1 application process, Biden and Mayorkas are pushing through. It's basically just a way to bypass and change the definition from illegal to legal.
Yeah, you see, the Jews want all this. They want everyone always fighting. They want to cause all these problems. Now, for whatever reason, some say it's because there's not very many of them. Like there's supposedly only 15 million. And because of that, they feel like they're always under threat. So what they try to do is get everyone else fighting each other constantly, which might be the case. And yeah, that's basically what they're doing. So they're actually a lot of the main people behind this so-called border crisis, which it is a crisis. It's getting pretty insane. Is basically the Jews, and not to mention just the Jews. Ben Shapiro, yes, rapper Ben Shapiro is also funding the border invasion.
Let's look at the stats. I've got the facts. My money like Lizzo, my pockets are fat. Homie, I'm epic. Don't be a whack. Dog dog, it's a yarmulke, homie, no cap. Look at the graphs, look at my charts. You're blowing money on strippers and cars. You go into prison, I'm on television. Dogs, no one knows who you are. Keep hating on me on the internet. My comment section all woke Karens. Then I make racks off compound interest. Y'all live with your parents. Nikki, take some notes. I just did this for fun. All my people download this. Let's get a Billboard #1.
Oh, Ben Shapiro. You know, I had a rap video called Bitcoin All the Way Up.
Straight to the moon, Bitcoin all the way.
Dollar vigilante, all up in your hearsay. Dropping crypto knowledge, making the ladies go cray-cray. Baby, I'm old school, and you the new jag. I've been rocking long Bitcoin since a hey long way back track 6 years ago. A friend of mine told me to say some Bitcoin rhymes, so I bought some Bitcoin around $3 that day. Now it's 2K, on its way to 10K. Fuck you, Ben Bernanke. You two yelling, I see what you're selling. A debt-based Ponzi scheme, impoverishing like a felon. We see through your inflation, market manipulation. I pass hold your fiat script when I'm done ejaculating.
I did that when Bitcoin was at $2,000. It then went to $60,000. I was deleted off YouTube. Ben Shapiro does possibly the worst white rap ever. Like, it's not even rap, really. And it's #1 now, of course, which is what I said it was. I said Tom McDonald, when he first put out that he's doing a rap with Ben Shapiro, I totally slammed him. And I said, well, enjoy all your money, and this will definitely get the most views of any video you've ever done by far, because you've got the Zionist, the Jew, in the video. And what happened? It's like #1 with the worst rapping ever. But meanwhile, Ben Shapiro has already come down to the Mexican border, and he's all like, it's the drug cartels. And not to mention the so-called drug cartels. A lot of the main stuff, like the big stuff, that's all CIA. So basically like CIA Mossad type stuff, right? So it's the same thing, the same people all again doing all the same things. He's like, we got to attack Mexico. Look, the drug cartels are doing this. Meanwhile, he's the one funding. He's been helping fund all of these migrants into the U.S., which he actually says he wants to see a browning of the U.S. Now got a little, he's kind of brown. Actually, he's pretty white. His skin's pretty white, but he is half sort of Mexican, I guess you could say. So I guess Ben Shapiro would be in favor of my baby, although I'm not looking for Ben Shapiro to be in favor of anything to do with me. The guy is complete and total garbage. But yeah, and again, the reason why he says stuff like that is that he wants, or actually a lot of these Jews want all the people to be kind of like mixed race, because again, they seem to think that everyone wants to kill them. And if everyone's all mixed, then they can like mix in with them or something. It's like, I don't know what's going on with these Jews, but they're insane. It's like, I don't want to kill all Jews. Like, I have some Jewish friends.
And so do I, yeah. Okay.
But,
so, like, I was gone for a while, so I just want, like, I hope he's stopping to slam Jewish people because, like, that's also not helping. And these are not Jewish people that are committing evil, shitty acts on human beings and the earth. It's people that are pretending to be part of these groups that don't believe in a creator or a God. And if they did, they wouldn't be doing the things that they've been doing. The people that are very stuck in their lower emotions, their lower vibrations. And it's hard to get out of.
But with all the stuff that Jews do, some of them, not all of them, it's like, yeah, a lot of people want to kill those ones. And then they want to like just destroy the world and keep everything in chaos. Oh man, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, I'm trying to actually think of why they're doing all this stuff. It doesn't the only thing I can think is that they're just super evil, these people. They do have their Star of Moloch, which is the Israeli flag. A lot of the, not all, but a lot of the Jewish guys, well, just look at their rabbis. They chop off the skin of penises of babies and suck the blood out with their own mouth. Like, these are some really sick and twisted people.
Yeah, people. Not everyone.
And I think that's why they get thrown out of a lot of countries. But anyway, it's the Jews who are just constantly causing all these problems.
That's not, and just to be clear, that I will reiterate, that's not how all friggin' Jews do the friggin' circumcisions. Okay, that's disgusting, and yes, it does happen. And the only reason why I shared that was because people are trying to deny that this happens, saying there's no friggin' way, but it's like, yeah, way. Bad connection. But and so these are the shitty friggin' low vibration people, just like the Pope. The Pope right now, he is not someone that believes in a creator or God or anything. He is not a good human being at all. And he's also heavily involved in this human trafficking, including children, and drug trafficking stuff that's going on, right? And he's also like really heavily involved and has like a position within the UN and countless other organizations that are pretending to be philanthropy organizations or beneficial. Okay. And for the most part, they could be and can be, but right now it's also an umbrella. These are umbrella organizations for these human trafficking, drug trafficking activities that are happening all over the world. And unfortunately, there's people within all levels of government or corporations that are working with them that are involved in this and that are profiting from this. And until we get some actual friggin' real legal people within Canada to address this, and the US and the other in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, etc., it's just going to get worse.
Jewish NGOs and mass migration. And look how much the Jewish people are helping Europe. How generous of them.
She believes the current wave of anti-Semitism in Sweden will pass, and that Jews have an important role to play in a country undergoing profound change.
I think there's a resurgence of anti-Semitism because at this point in time, Europe has not yet learned how to be multicultural. And I think we're going to be part of the throes of that transformation, which must take place. Europe is not going to be the monolithic.
So notice that they wanted to be multicultural in Europe, where they come from. And my family lineage comes from Europe as well as Canada, hundreds of years. From the early 1500s on the record of coming here and then marrying people that were indigenous in their 30s, by the way, just to be clear, not kids. They weren't part of these friggin' anyway. And so like being Canadian for hundreds of years. And but she's totally okay with Israel just completely destroying Palestine, completely okay with the genocide going on, and in fact, actually promoting and propping it up. Okay, not so she doesn't want multiculturalism. And by the way, there's also Christian Palestinians as well.
Societies that they once were in the last century. Jews are going to be at the center of that. It's a
and no one wants to talk about the Bolsheviks, the fudging Bolsheviks that were also involved in further crippling people within World War II, including Christians. Holodomor, where millions of Christians were targeted and starved to death by people within government that were also working with certain groups. Low vibration people.
For Europe to make. They are now going into a multicultural mode, and Jews will be resented because of our leading role. But without that leading role and without that transformation, Europe will not survive.
Shoah's Ark. The Jews are flooding the white countries with refugees in a planned white genocide program. You have a Muslim problem because you have a Jew problem.
Oh my God.
And the weird thing about getting rid of the white race when you're Jews is a lot of the Jews who say they're Jews, which I don't even know what that means, look white. Like the president of Israel's from...
I hope he gets jail. Oh my God, he needs jail.
Poland, he looks pretty white. I don't even care about these races like white, black. These are all just stupid terms to me.
Yeah.
Like we're all just the human race. We all have different shades. I don't care. But they all seem to care. And they want to get rid of the white people. So the Jews are safe. It's pretty incredible. And somehow these 15 million Jews, there's not even 15 million of them. It's just a few of them.
They're getting targeted because of this stuff too.
Oh, Lucy's doing some runs. You gonna do some runs, Lucy? Lucy, here we go. Oh yeah, This is real nice. I like coming in the sand, doing some runs. He likes playing in the park. It's good times around here.
So when people keep on blaming like a certain group for everything that's going on in the world, they're getting more targeted and more hate against them as well. So this is also something that's deliberately targeting Jewish people as well. And like he says, like he has friends that are Jewish. I do as well. And there are a lot of very respectable academics that also are Jewish, actual people that believe and understand like the astrotheosophy, but like more like they more connected with Judaism and being Jewish, and just even with myself, like I believe in a creator. I believe I'm very much aware of this being an astro-theosophical cosmos, universe, light in motion. But I also identify more with like the Christian religion, you know, out of them, just because of my background and lived experiences and my family's as well. And so, and there's a lot of good teachings in Islam, in Judaism, in Christianity, in Buddhism, in Taoism, in Shintoism, and like in all of these different, astro-theosophical allegories. And if people would interpret them the right way, right? Like it's like what you are experiencing within your realm or your lived reality is it's essentially your fault. You know, like perception is reality. Like what you consume is going to be your reality, right? And so unless you actually put in place small steps, you know, to change your behaviors and your routines and lifestyle, you're going to be repeating like the same patterns, you know, and then declining.
I don't know if I caught that. I got this new Osmo. It actually looks great. And I actually figured out I didn't have the microphone plugged in last time. But I've got it plugged in this time. And so hopefully this sounds great too. So far I really like it, but I'm still getting used to it. It's a little trickier, but there's so many cool things about it. Anyway, getting back to the Jews. Man, I'm so tired of talking about the Jews. It's like the COVIDs.
Yeah, like I don't just get to your points instead of targeting a friggin' group too, right? Because there's been now more friggin', whether it be crisis actors or people paid to do this, there's been more attacks on friggin' Jewish infrastructure as well, religious places, and like what is wrong with you to do this stuff? Like this makes no sense. I'm calling out the Christian churches. There's been there's been hundreds of Christian churches targeted within Canada alone for a very long time, and there are people that have been bought and paid to commit these arsons and these attacks against the Christian churches. But there are also people that are willingly doing this, actually doing this on their own fruition, their own free friggin' will, because they're believing what the mainstream media and what our government is saying, and they are lying to us because they don't understand or know the reality of the world, and they're stuck in the low vibration stuff. They're not forcing themselves out of it, right? Like, so even for myself, because of the work that I do and the experiences that I've gone through in my life, there's been a lot of trauma. You know, it's very easy to play the victim, but it's like another thing to like make sure that you're not drinking, that I'm not drinking, sorry, not you, and that I'm not listening to negative music even like during the day. Like I actually try to put on like classical music in the background, or like healing frequencies and sounds and vibrations in the background, or listen to the birds, things like that, and try to be more connected to nature. And I feed birds every day. I watch them. My dogs watch them from the patio, and chipmunks and squirrels come to the door, and the cats, and like, I don't know, trying to live more in harmony with your world is also. But like I'm going on these tangents, but he's friggin' like really like slamming a certain group that are not responsible at all for what people are doing. And I've even shared Jewish people speaking out on what's going on in the Middle East and what's going on in Israel and Palestine. And so, yeah.
Like I've been actually looking into this for 3 months, since October 7th. Like, what is a Jew? And I'm still not sure. But I know they own almost everything.
Whatever you're gonna have, the Jews will always control you. Everywhere you go in the world, who is running all the financial? Always the Jews. Started in Paro, Yosef, everyone. The Jews are in charge of the world. Science, financial, politics, behind the presidents. Even now, everybody knows that all the campaign of Donald Trump is his son-in-law, the Jew, Kushner. I read it 3 different articles. He is the master.
The guy who's speaking, I don't know who this guy is, but the dollar vigilante is who was speaking. And I share his stuff because he has like a lot of good points. And I think he's on the same page because he was saying that he has Jewish friends as well. But I just like he keeps on calling me, like saying like Jews, like everyone's saying that. And these are people that are part of these organizations that are plants that are destroying it from the inside. Like this is classic warfare, psychological warfare. It's classic. Like this happens, like, and the fact that people are falling for it, like I don't understand it. And I'm not slamming Dollar Vigilante. He's a very smart guy. He's been at this for years. He's got a lot of things right, and speaking out. So like I'm not trying to take away from that, but he's falling for like this psyops, and it's just frustrating to me that people are like falling for it, right? Like even with Adolf Hitler, he was not religious. People are trying to say that he was Christian, etc. or Jewish, and the fact is, like, he was just like he didn't believe in God. And there's even written accounts of him saying to people to plant themselves within churches, within religious organizations as spies. And this is why churches and popes and priests and stuff like that were also designed. Like this was people like they used them as spies, right? So when people would go to confession and stuff like that, like this was not something that people were just keeping to themselves. They were reporting this up to higher. And so it is what it is. I'm going to go on freaking so many tangents and I'm already over an hour and a half in. But my lives, like they could go on. I don't even care if they go 6 hours long, to be honest with you. Especially like if I'm being interactive with people.
Their mind behind everything. He told him what to say, what not to say, how to react, things that he did in the end, that in the end worked out for him. And he's richer than him. Don't get confused. He didn't marry him for his money. The family of his son-in-law are much wealthier than Donald Trump himself. Some people may think, oh, he married her because her father is the rich guy. No. They're very, very wealthy. They give loans of tens of millions of dollars to people for real estate. They're funders. They have a lot of money. Bli ayin hara. So that's how Hashem made the world. Abarbanel, in his time in Spain, was running the show. Everywhere, the Jews always ran the financial. Here in America, Bernanke, who was before Greenspan, the Jews runs the show. Everywhere. The treasury, the one in charge, what's his name? The one that was in charge now, is Mechutan, was davening with us in a minyan, in Mincha. Sar HaOtzar, no, the treasury, also in charge of the money. Even in Arab countries, they always had hidden advisors that tell them what to do. There's not that many Jews in the world that ride a bicycle, Shem Tov. I can tell you that. There's much more Mercedes and BMW.
Yeah, and Trump's so proud his grandson or whatever is Jewish now, which is just odd. Why is he Jewish? I guess because his son.
It's creating division. People want you to either love or hate Trump. He's boring now, and I'm sorry. I know people love him, like Space Force, pushing the COVID vaccines. I get it's likely not coming from a bad place. He's likely just like a lobbyist that is an opportunist, and doesn't, maybe he doesn't understand the reality of the world as it's laid out by design. Maybe he hasn't read anything from Walter Russell or Alex Gleason or Andrew Henry or like the greats throughout history. Who knows?
Son-in-law says he's Jewish, and so if you're Jewish, which just means you believe in Judaism, automatically your kid is? Doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm an anarcho-capitalist. That's really what, when it comes to beliefs, well, I believe a couple things. I believe life is a 3D video game, and I believe anarcho-capitalism / libertarianism is the best way for this world to operate in the best way possible. Now, does that mean that my son believes it's a 3D video game? No, he doesn't have a clue about it. Does my son believe in anarcho-capitalism? He definitely can't even pronounce the word. So he's not an anarcho-capitalist because I'm one. Why are you a Jew if your dad's a Jew? I don't get it. People do stupid stuff. But anyway, you got Trump who he's all happy his grandson's Jewish. And then you got Joe Biden who's basically said, well, I'm not a Jewish, but I am a Zionist.
If I were a Jew, I'd be a Zionist. I am a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist.
And he claims to be Christian because there's more Christian Zionists than there are Jewish Zionists. He's not a Christian. No, like we don't believe that either, right? Like, and people are slamming Christians all over the friggin' place because this is the head of it, right? And they're seeing like people like this are lobbyists, war and pharma mongers across the world, and they don't want to have any part of the Christian religion, right? Like, and people don't understand why. It's because people like this and Nancy Pelosi and Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau, these are the representations in the first world countries as people that are Christians. They say it. I have my own Bible that I'm going to swear on. You really, as you're friggin' murdering Canadians, as you've known for years now, the possible harms of the therapeutic that you pushed on people, and the companies that you were involved with that profited off of this, and it's left and right, because Doug Ford, who's still somehow the premier of Ontario, his decal business went from like $1 or $2 million of value to like multi-million dollars, like up to like $60 million now in value. The stickers that were in hospitals and grocery stores, like the directions telling you where to go, all that stuff. This, guys, that's a conflict of interest. This was a planned epidemic. I've proven it, irrefutable evidence. And I've also emailed Doug Ford countless times as well. I have the email receipts. Not Christian. They fake being Christian. Not. My grandmother, Christian, she was a nun, and then she fell in love with my grandfather, and she never went with another man ever in her life. 4 kids, and she went to church every single day and lit candles and prayed in a beautiful church. She worked at a nursing home of service for decades, co-owned essentially a nursing home, and treated elderly people with dignity and respect, and did that basically until she was unable to do it anymore in her 70s, and just a good Christian woman. Didn't swear, didn't smoke, didn't drink, none of that stuff. Like baked, like just like loved being around family, like all of this stuff, and not like him at all, or Nancy Pelosi. Like Nancy Pelosi, my grandmother, not even in the same frequency band, like not even close, like polar opposites.
And here's Zionist Joe on the immigration issue.
Not only our Muslim communities, but African communities, Asian communities, Hispanic communities.
And she took care of my grandfather, who died of cancer, and he suffered for a few years until the day he died. She was taking care of him, and others, and so just and really involved in like the grandkids' lives, just like a really decent human being, and had the Bibles, had the crosses, had the rosaries. When I went to Egypt, and actually when I went to Italy, I actually got like rosaries and stuff like that for her, and brought it back, and she loved it because it came from where the Pope is from and stuff like that. And anyway,
and the wave still continues. It's not going to stop, nor should we want it to stop. As a matter of fact, it's one of the things I think we can be most proud of. So there's a second thing in that black box: an unrelenting stream of immigration, nonstop.
Another
folks like me who were Caucasian of European descent, for the first time in 2017, will be in an absolute minority in the United States of America.
Nice.
Absolute minority.
I've been.
Fewer than 50% of the people in America from then and on will be white European stock. That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength.
Yeah, and they're trying to start the civil war with this border issue, which I think is a setup yet again, just like the January 6th thing was.
It's very obvious here that this wall, these defenses at our border are not sophisticated enough to stop this from happening. So yes, we can talk all day about the barbed wire that's at Shelby Park, We can talk all day about whether or not the state has the right to defend the border or it's the responsibility of the federal government. We can argue about jurisdictions and do this sort of political grandstanding, this tit for tat. But when push comes to shove, this wall is not nearly extensive enough to block people from coming into the United States from Mexico. You just have to hop over the Rio Grande that way, and you can pretty much walk right into the United States. I don't see any law enforcement around, and it's as easy as that, folks. It's as easy as that.
I think they want people to really go crazy and do something pretty wild, like the Texas guys kill a bunch of National Guard type people or something, and then they'll come in with like massive. Well, this is just like they said with the January 6th, which it totally wasn't. This is an insurrection. They're trying to get out of the United States, the freest country in the world. They're trying to separate or whatever. And I think they'll try to get a lot of those people and put them all in jail and stuff and come in with like tons of military. And then things will get interesting because a lot of people have said that a lot of the military won't do something like this. I guess we're about to find out. But no matter what happens, they will use it to their advantage. That much I can guarantee you. And I think that's basically what they're doing.
Like some of this, like the footage that he shares is what I really like watching this guy for. Like
a lot with this whole Texas thing.
'Cause these are my people.
This is good footage here too. Like there are people that are getting duped again, just like January 6th, that are possibly going to involve themselves into something that they have no business involving themselves in, and it could be dangerous. And this has been my prediction and what I didn't want to have happen, but I literally said that there could possibly be a lethal protest that involves government, against government, even unknowingly, right? Because even with the fog of war, like during this, right, there are plants within embedded government, and if they don't see that, they're not properly identified. Again, that there's so much friggin' trouble with this stuff, and so it's important that we share this because what's going on with the border stuff right now, this has been they've been planting seeds for this for years.
And this is my land.
And this is not going to help anyone.
This is what we prayed for.
And people keep on saying this needs to be violent. Like the answer is like, no, it's really not, because like even people that were non-violent at the protest, or not even at the protest, they're in jail. Not seeing their friends, not seeing their families, not seeing their kids, not going to work.
And this is God's plan. If you ain't from here.
And the same people that are funding all of these people to do this or exploiting them, they own the prison systems. And Ben Shapiro also like profits off the prison systems indirectly, whether he knows it or not, because the people who own his label or his media that pay his salary, they own the prison systems, and there is a lot of money that can be made on individual prisoners in this privatized prison system that America has, that Canada is also now pushing for.
Because they're really putting it in their media now, which means they want everyone to talk about it, to know about it, which means they want to make something of it. And you can't really win with this stuff. The way they've got it set up. That's the thing. Like, they've got it set up so you almost can't win no matter what you do. The only way you can win is not to play the game. And that's what I've been saying. Like, just don't even play the game. Do the work on yourself. Get outside of all of this. And then a lot of this stuff just doesn't matter. And if enough people do it, this whole world would change dramatically. But anyway, they're also trying to start World War.
There was total election fraud. Total election fraud. That's all been that's proven, irrefutable evidence. And that's absolutely what a lot of people were upset about. And even within Canada, absolutely election fraud that happened here as well, that people like myself have tried to call out with John Baird's involvement and other fixers within the leftist government as well. And the voting stations directly organized by CBC.
Or three.
Leftist media.
In so many ways. It's incredible, because wasn't that one of the big things that the libtard people said about Donald Trump? If he gets in, You know, he'll get us into World War III. It's like he actually, to his credit, didn't start any new wars. That's like the first time a president's, I think, done that, I think, ever in U.S. history, pretty much, because that's all they do. But now Biden's in, and they're pretty much trying to have war with everybody now. And there was, I think, 3 American terrorists called military who were in Jordan.
What an idiot.
Which, if you don't know, that's... Damn. It's like, bomb around, we got to attack now. They killed 3 of her.
Senator Lindsey Graham says that the White House should take it.
So, that annoyed me a little bit. There are people that serve in the military that believe that they're doing the right thing, and they're getting fed a lot of BS right now. And that is what is wrong. The biggest thing that we need to address with our cabinet members too, that are also heavily involving themselves in lying to us about false flag events that are getting us into these wars and going to bases that we have no belong going to, into countries that we have no business being in, that people don't want us there, and that's understandable. But there are people, you don't understand, like, the information that they're getting. And yeah, people that are trying to be of service.
Immediate and strong action, saying the Biden administration can take out all the Iranian proxies they like, to your point, Jonathan, but it will not deter Iranian aggression. I am calling on the Biden administration to strike targets of significance inside.
He is also not a religious person. He just fakes and pretends to be. He's a lobbyist.
Iran, not only as reprisal for the killing of our forces, but as deterrence against future aggression. Hit Iran now, hit them hard. What are the chances that the president surprises us and does something like that? And if not, what happens next?
You know, they're the best people in the world. They torture and kill and steal and rape people all over the world. You know, they should get on the plane first. These are the best of the best. We got to, start a war over this. And they even send out that clown from the White House who actually has clown hair. Like, they must do this on purpose. And here's what she, who I think is like a black lesbian dye hire. It's amazing, these dye hires. Like, they're so bad, they can't hardly do anything. Here's her comment on it.
What I will say, obviously our deepest condolences go out, and our heartfelt condolences go out to the families who lost three brave.
This will turn into 9/11, I'm sure, or the intent was for it to be 9/11. Three folks who are military folks who are. And then you've got the 7/11
brave, who are always fighting, who are fighting on behalf of this administration.
9/11, 7/11. Look at it. I haven't even watched this far, and I called it.
Of the American people.
And it was on the 119th day of the year, et cetera, of like when the 7th of October happened.
People obviously more.
Which I believe also that was staged and planned. And I have all the evidence in the world that you can look at on Rumble at Dawn189. You're not going to find it on YouTube that they were all friggin' deleted. I have so many strikes now on YouTube. And that's like my 3rd or 4th account. Like
importantly, we lost those souls.
Now, unlike Joe, you can actually understand the words she's saying. But the words she's saying.
And then with the 3 and then the 22 for the location that it was at, like these are all 322. That's correlated with Skull and Bones, for example. And then there's like different groups that are within like cabinet. Like it's so predictable.
She can barely make a sentence. What I will say, our deepest condolences go out, and our heartfelt condolences go out to the families who lost three brave folks who are military folks, who are brave, who are always fighting, who are fighting on behalf of and of this administration of the American people, obviously more so. Oh, thanks, John Karine, or whatever your name is. Karine Jean-Pierre. Yeah, Biden cleverly distracts from civil war by starting world war. War with Russia? War with Iran? War with China? War with Texas? I don't know which to do first. Yeah, we started off this video with, actually, I think it's a Russian music video called NATO Provocato. NATO.
And who's going to be rushing to Texas and for the border crisis? It's all going to be people that are friggin' Trump supporters mostly, right? There's going to be no like Biden supporters there. And so they're canalizing a specific political group again and targeting them. So again, these people are just like they're just like allowing people to know like, who to target essentially. And don't put it past the people that are currently in government at all levels to stage a false flag event within your own country. Because if you look at Operation Northwoods, there were people in the highest levels of government within the American military that were trying to target their own military and law enforcement and civilian population, land, air, and sea. So look, I've shared that information on Norwoods. Look at my Rumble videos on that. You'll get full you get full elaborate breakdowns of that and how they try to attack their own, and then they wanted to blame it on Russia and communists from Cuba, and get us into a war, because Canada gets into these wars as well, ladies and gentlemen. And World War I, World War II, Canada, we had conscriptions, people were drafted, and so if there's a world war because of this, because we're getting duped and deceived and distracted by other things, shiny things, that are also false flag events. Oh, it's just a friggin' nightmare.
Provokes, which it totally does. And it's been going into full swing. Like this is almost just like what happened with the COVIDs, where almost every Western government came out immediately. Everyone said in all those governments, it's the Great Reset, it's the new normal. It's 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Where are we going?
Flatten the curve.
And
there is no curve.
Now you've got all the Western governments all saying that they're going to war. And on top of that, they really need to force people to join the military. Swedish alarm after defense chief's war warning. Dutch army commander warns of potential war with Russia. Finland elects president amid tensions with Russia. Germany considers recruiting foreigners to army to face Russian menace. Time to think of the unthinkable and consider.
And these are primarily American media outlets. Just to be clear.
UK conscription, says Britain's former top NATO commander. Australia must consider bringing back conscription as all-out war with Russia looms, experts say. Yeah, and they've even got Bojo back. These guys never disappear. He's not the prime minister of the UK anymore, so he's basically unemployed. But here he is telling you what he thinks you should do.
So, Lance Corporal Johnson reporting for duty and responding to the appeal from General Sanders for a citizen army and encouraging young people across the country to think of the attractions, advantages of some kind of military training or service, because at the moment they think it's either uncool or unethical, or perhaps they're not following General Sanders, they're following Colonel Sanders. To find out what we need to do about it, read my column in the Daily Mail.
Now this is getting interesting. If they're going to actually do this, and they actually try to do this in these Western countries, try to actually have a draft and enlist young people into the military and send them off to be blown up somewhere around the Ukraine, probably. This will get very interesting, because most young people today are completely out of shape, completely don't know anything. They've just sat on their couches their whole lives.
Wrong.
If they get shipped off, this will be hilarious to watch. I'll just be laughing. This could be a comedy for me.
I wouldn't be laughing, but
and it's
I'm not him.
Oh, Jeff, aren't you going to be sending your baby to this war? It's oh no, never. But a lot of people will. A lot of people will just do it. It's well, the government said I had to. This is going to get so interesting, because this generation is not even close to ready for anything like that. In fact, a lot of the militaries in a lot of the West don't have that many people. They're actually, as they say, they're quite understaffed, so to speak. because less people sign up for it. Because most kids today, they're all TikTok and all that kind of stuff. They're not joining the army and all that kind of thing. It's too hard. Or maybe they're kind of smart too. Maybe they're just like, well, I don't want to get into wars and stuff, which is smart. But for whatever reason, they haven't been. And so they're trying to figure out how to get more people into the military. Female Army recruits are the key to solving the armed forces recruitment crisis, says Grant Shapps.
That's a policy.
Yeah, getting all the women in, all these like feminist women with their blue hair and their nose rings. Like they will actually, if they have a draft for women, you'll see all those pink-haired, blue-haired nose ring people all of a sudden like dressing like a 1940s housewife and like baking at the stove. It's like, who, me? No, I can't go to war. Public faces call up if we go to war, military chief warns.
Blue-haired girls.
The U.S. Army now has its smallest military force in 80 years, with the largest drop coming from the white recruits. In 2018, there were 44,000 white recruits. In 2023, that number fell to just 25,000. Yeah, a lot of the white people who have been like most of the military in the past in the U.S. are seeing all this trans stuff they're doing, all the forced injections, and they're finally not signing up anymore, which is great. It's kind of funny because they're bringing in all these migrants into these Western countries, and the white people don't want to join the military. So are they going to bring in these migrants from Africa, put them in a military uniform, ship them off to Ukraine and blow them up? If so, that's hilarious. But I doubt that's what they're going to do, because they do want to replace the white people. So we'll see what's happening, but they're having a really hard time. They're having to like even reduce their requirements even further. And you're usually pretty dumb if you join the military, but they're dropping it even further. U.S. Navy removes diploma requirement, allows high school dropouts to enlist. Yeah, I wonder why the military recruiting numbers are so low. Here's a future photo for World War III.
See, even people that I can largely disagree with on certain things, like I could still share their content with an open mind and be critical. Like him talking about people within the military, I could not disagree more with what he's saying. I'm saying I believe that we're being misguided right now and being duped. We still need a warrior class, and 80% of people within America and the U.S. and possibly including this guy as well wouldn't even be fit for duty to be of service because of the standards that are still in place. Like, even though the standards have significantly been lowered in the last few years, that's not the answer. We need to actually have people that are qualified and competent for the jobs, just like when I was going through. Very hard to get through the friggin' courses, and I was absolutely not helped through. I was absolutely not assisted through. I can assure you of that. And we're not doing that. And so like, you can't have a criminal record. Like there's there's so many different reasons, like with addictions, like that you're out from that. There's physical fitness standards that are being largely overlooked, but like it's gonna turn around, especially when Wayne Eyre finally gets fired, hopefully. He's slated to resign, and like he shouldn't be authorized to do that. Like a lot of people were forced out of the military and tortured, and there's lawsuits on behalf of that. And so, I mean, this guy, needs to be in jail. But and then there's so there's physical fitness tests. There's also an IQ or academic component as well that people have to do, like cognitive testing as well, like examinations, multiple. And so other reasons why people are not making it in now. A lot of children now are more unwell. They're more diabetics, more overweight or obese, with addictions, with whatever you want to call it, and they're just not able to even be fit for duty. So he's like slamming people that are still like a large part, like a large majority of them are still like the best representatives of the Canadian population. Like they're a sample of like what's supposed to be like the more educated, fit of the population, and that's why they're funded by taxpayers to be of service to Canada and Canadians, and that's why there needs to be friggin' standards and maintain these standards and these DEIs, these diversity equity hires that he's speaking of. Like even with pilots, if firefighters, law enforcement, military, etc. There needs to be, with doctors, there needs to be standards. There needs to be standards.
Here's the men storming the shores of the Ukraine, taking one last look at their love back home. Yeah, the United Nations, founded in 1945, to end all wars. The world has been at war ever since.
Flat Earth map.
United Nations. Wait, it's all just a child trafficking ring? Always has been. Yep, time to send your kids off to fight for Israel, for the Jews, who are doing the most heinous genocide ever in Palestine. You know, I saw someone on X. I posted something about Israel, you know, the usual kind of thing I would post. And the response was, you are going to hell. It was something like this. You're going to hell because the Jews are God's people and you can never speak out against God's people. It's like, whoa, do people actually believe that? That these people are God's people? First of all, what kind of God makes a whole bunch of people and then only makes some of them his people? Well, what it was supposed to be saying, because this is where the whole term Israel even came from, is an Israelite is someone who truly believes in God, which actually means they've actually don't even care about this material world. They're just with God. It's just like with Shinya.
It's Isis, Ra, El. The Trinity. Electricity, magnetism, ether.
Amurti and Sat Yoga. You drop your ego completely. You're just completely with the divine. Nothing.
Okay, so
but at least there's a
COVID lockdowns. In today's pop culture, it is speculated that they are related to child sex trafficking, which is indeed a horrific problem with the human race. But there seems to be something more to these tunnels. Tunnels leading underground are one of Earth's greatest mysteries and can be found all over the world and all throughout history. Phil Schneider, a structural engineer who spent 17 years as a military contractor building deep underground military bases, went on a tour giving lectures and blowing the whistle on what he witnessed. He claimed there were 129 deep underground bases in America alone, all of which were the size of a small city. He found that some of these underground bases were connecting to ancient underground tunnels and cave networks that were inhabited by a non-human species.
Non-human does not necessarily mean aliens, just to be clear.
Which he ran into while
we are in a contained environment, and like the magnetic fields are keeping us within this contained environment.
Building an underground base beneath Dulce, New Mexico.
And there's underground tunneling systems that I've shown even throughout Canada, especially in Ottawa, Montreal. I've shared footage of that.
Mexico. Schneider said that the Dulce area was a hub of underground bases, all connected by a high-speed underground rail system. Less than a year after blowing the whistle, Schneider died under suspicious circumstances. Dulce, New Mexico is 170 kilometers from the Four Corners, an area known for the skinwalkers, who the Hopi tribe describe as a non-human species that live underground. Dulce is 260 kilometers from Scientology's heavily guarded underground Trementina base. And Dulce is 200 kilometers from Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch, which is known to have an 8,000 square foot underground level and is rumored to lead even deeper underground. According to several prominent scientists who Jeffrey Epstein had as guests, Epstein hoped to seed the human race after a cataclysm by impregnating 20 women at a time at the Zorro Ranch. According to researcher Christopher John Bajorkness, the goal of breeding Jewish seed lines with Gentile women is the fulfillment of Kabbalistic legends of Samael and Lilith. According to Bajorkness, the Kabbalistic teachings include a geocentric model of the earth with an underworld that extends 7 levels beneath the surface, where a reptilian species lives. These legends foretell...
I don't believe in there's possible reptilian species, but again, like not aliens. With the 7 above and below, I believe, again, this with that he's talking about the magnetic fields, the colors, the frequencies, what I talk about. Again, this is just like more reinforcing the allegorical representations and diagrams that are used to discuss the toroidal fields that contain this environment on this geocentric flat Earth plane that was created by a creator, a creating universe, cosmos, light and motion. Anyway.
A cleansing of the earth when everyone on the surface will perish and only those in the underworld will survive. High-level Freemasons allegedly believe in a hollow earth where a non-human species rule from an underworld called Agartha. And their most guarded secrets seem to revolve around a cyclical cataclysmic event. Phil Schneider also built submarine bases and said that most were connected to the vast network of deep underground bases. Ghislaine Maxwell had a submarine license and was known to transport people to Epstein Island through an underwater submarine port. The U.S. military built a submarine base on St. Thomas Island, which is just 13 kilometers from Epstein Island. And right next to this submarine base is Water Island, owned by Joe Biden's brother and their business associate. In a recent interview on Iconic, Juliette Bryant, who was kidnapped by Jeffrey Epstein for 2 years, said that she never witnessed any of the dozens of girls there being trafficked to any men other than Epstein. But she did wake up once paralyzed on a lab table and witnessed Epstein shapeshift into something else.
And I still want to know why exactly I was taken there, because there's a lot more weird stuff going on, because, I didn't see any girls getting trafficked to other men. So there's something else that they were doing.
Could have been
That's fascinating in itself, and we have a lot of talk, and this doesn't get spoken about that much, but it's the kind of cloning DNA part that he was obviously transhumanism that he was interested in. Did that come up anywhere? Did you see any signs?
Well,
I mean, obviously there's scientists.
I'm just going to put it out there right now. I woke up in a laboratory there one night.
Wow.
These are the things I haven't wanted to talk about because it's frightening. But there were scientists there, and I woke up one night in a laboratory, paralyzed and naked on a table. I would like to be lie detected on this. There are other weird things that I saw. I saw Epstein shift in front of my eyes.
Like, she could possibly believe this, but people can be tricked. Like, our perception is reality. There could have been, like, illusions with light and whatever, like, used to mess with her. Holograms.
It was very, very frightening.
Or it could have been just like on very lucid, like drugs, like really strong drugs.
And it's just something that I had to explain to myself because I saw him turn into something.
Greg Reese reporting.
Yeah, who knows, really?
Yeah, I don't know. I just eat my tacos, go for my walks. I don't really know what's going on. Whatever happens is going to happen.
Yeah, basically that's what I do too. See, although I believe any of that stuff is totally possible. It's incredible how little we know and what's really going on. And then there's that whole thing in the Apocalypse of Yajnavalkya, that this is actually the Atlanteans and the Nephilim having a civil war of their own going on 15,000 years. And the Atlanteans are supposed to come back in the next couple of years in spaceships. I actually can't wait till some of this stuff does happen, because it's probably going to happen in one way or another.
I'm pretty sure people that are watching my channel are aware of protests happening throughout Europe with farmers.
It's actually spread to numerous countries throughout Europe. The Netherlands, Scotland, Germany, France, Poland, Belgium, Lithuania, Romania, Greece, Italy. But of course, what do they say about these people? Protesting German farmers are dangerously far right, says the media. But they're not. Most Germans share their concerns over energy prices and immigration. And now a new investigation finds government, Soros, and Facebook money behind the anti-farmer disinformation and attacks. So people are basically trying to stop the all the stuff these globalists / Jews / Nephilim are doing. And you have people like Soros, who's a Jew, saying, oh, these are far right, they need to be stopped. And Facebook even saying that, which is interesting, Mark Zuckerberg is said to be a grandson of the Rothschilds, which are Jews. And he also is probably one of those lizard people.
But it is going to bother you because you're human. And I was human. I am human. But I was just referring to myself in the past.
He's human.
Not that I was not human.
Yeah, meanwhile, Elon Musk, who's Jewish, they've announced their first Neuralink product has been installed in a human. And the first Neuralink product is called telepathy. And one of the big agendas of people like Satan Klaus at the World Economic Forum and the Jews/Nephilim/globalists is transhumanism.
Like this, like Nephilim, globalist, whatever.
It's actually a big, huge thing that they want. They want to destroy all of basically what they see as God's creation. They're also Satanists. And so they want to destroy all humanity and turn them into things they're not. And that's where a lot of this transgenderism stuff all of a sudden came from. Change boys to girls, girls to boys. It doesn't really matter which, but as long as you do it. And Elon's like a front runner, a leader of the transhumanist stuff. And now they're putting chips.
Actually, Trump is like, he, even before RuPaul became big in as a drag queen, like Trump had put in place policies and stuff like that and pushed for this. And I'm not sure if this was already shared publicly yet, but I'm tracking that in my network. And crisis actors and paid actors. Yeah, I've been talking about this for years. Even before January 6th, I was calling that was going to happen. And I was saying that like they were going to blame it on right-wing extremists and stuff like that and exploit certain political groups and people that are more extreme in their ideologies and stuff like that and belief systems. Huge psyops. And there were so many law enforcement and other organizations, RAYEPs included, that were there to try to incite a riot, right? Like they're trying to push for so much distraction and chaos. The same thing in Canada. And I've called these people out, like even before the Freedom Convoy came to Ottawa. I was reaching out to all my contacts within Special Forces, Parliamentary Protective Services, RCMP, OPS, obviously multiple people within the OPS, Ottawa Police Services, OPP, provincial, members of cabinet, my Green Army military officer friends as well, especially within the Gagetown area, which is closest to Ottawa. And I was giving them all the information. I was trying to get mainstream media to report this stuff. They were instead blocking it from being mainstream, and even highway traffic cams were being blocked out. And these are public service friggin' camera systems that we pay for. And they didn't want that anyway. And there was paid actors as part of the Freedom Convoy as well. I've said this. There were leftists and anarchists and Black Lives Matter people, Antifa people that funded more of the Freedom Convoy than anyone else, you know, or very close to like a balance of people that were part of the movement. And the only reason why it got as big as it did is because people were emailing their local mayors, emailing their district leaders, calling them as well, writing letters to their members of cabinet, just like all levels of government. They were emailing their media. They were calling media. I know this for a fact. Even people within my network, people like hairdressers included. Okay, and not that that's not that's a great job, and she makes a lot of money. She's like the best friggin' hairstylist in Canada, in my opinion. Does extensions and stuff like that as well. But anyway, also reaching out to government peacefully and sharing medical and scientific and government data. And sharing the lies and saying like you're hurting us, and instead of them just like even now like laughing in our faces, like still arresting independent journalists like David Menzies when they're trying to get them to at least answer questions about it, you know what I mean, and like let them at least be aware that we know what they're doing. We're not idiots, you know. We're not at their level, you know, like of the low vibration.
People's brains, and people are all excited about it. Some people are excited about it. Yeah, let the Tesla guy put a chip in your brain. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah, and when they're not doing all of those things I just mentioned, they're also trying to burn down almost all the food processing plants basically on Earth to make it so that There's mass.
So in Brazil, but also in the U.S., like more plants, more food plants, like organic, like they're all like burning down.
Starvation
in the last 48 hours.
Yeah, this is basically already World War III, but the World War III is against you. It's incredible. It's incredible. Like, what would we do without these Jews / Nephilim / globalist types?
They're not Jews, Nephilim, and globalist people. They're just criminals that have a platform, unfortunately, and they're just being authorized and entitled and enabled to do what they're doing still somehow.
/Satan.
And we pay people to stop people like this. Like, we literally pay people. It's expected for generations. My family for hundreds of years paying taxes to stop people like this from being in power. And that's why more people need to vote, not less, because then there's more attention being paid to elections and less fraud and all this stuff. And we're at like less than 30%, or like around 30% of people that vote in Canada. And so like there's like so much overlook. It's unbelievable. And so if there was like 80% or plus in like a lot of other countries of people actually voting, okay, then you're getting what you voted for.
Satanists. Like, life would be so peaceful and like there'd be almost like no problems whatsoever without people like that. Here's people happily living their lives, not bothering anyone. Here's the liberals / Jews.
Because it's not even liberals. Like, there's people I know that are liberals that are not leftist or extremists or QAnon support. Like, no, anyway.
Out, you have to kill them. And when you do that, that's actually one of the only ways you can get 20 years or whatever.
A little unhinged sometimes.
But, you know, you have to do that kind of work. So we'll see. But it's going to be interesting.
And I wonder what his views are on of nurses as well, right? Because there are nurses and people that are part of like medical staff, pharmacists included, that and doctors that pushed the vaccine and multiple other vaccines and therapeutics and drugs that are causing more harm than good, even cancer treatments, ladies and gentlemen, and nurses. Like, I have friends that are nurses, and my best friend for a long time, someone that I even lived with for a while when I was in Edmonton, and I was like part of her wedding party in Alberta. Like, she has refused to talk to me now for the last couple of years because of what I've been saying about the pandemic and the therapeutic and the mandates, because she fully believes that it's for our own good. And I do not think she is remotely a bad person at all. She's a great person. And it's unfortunate that she doesn't want to talk to me anymore. I totally understand where she's coming from, because if she knew better, she would do better. And so within the system, like, things need to change at the top. There are people that know the reality of the vaccine side effects coming from these organizations, corporations, and just how much money is put into it. And you know, if she like then she would be on like on the right side, right? Like, decisions would be made, and she wouldn't be doing possibly. And I'm not saying that she's a person that was involved in the therapeutics. She wasn't. She's ER, so she's someone that saves lives, right? And assists doctors in saving lives, and very, very busy, and again, a good woman. It's just yeah, again, like, I'm not like, we shouldn't be demonizing nurses or doctors or medical staff because they were pushing this. But it's hard, right? Because they were absolutely part of the problem, right? And they did vaccinate a lot of people, and they pushed it, and they were burnt out. And because of that, like, there was a lot more people that were going into hospitals and clinics because of injuries of various types and degrees and levels, and excess deaths that are still not being reported within Canada and the US. It's unfortunate. So part of the problem, absolutely. Willfully, knowingly, no. A small percentage, absolutely yes. The majority, No. And that's the same thing for every friggin' organization or institution. And that's what we need to protect ourselves against, are the people that are the predatory types or the crazy people that willfully commit harm to people. Whoa.
But World War III has been ongoing for a long time, and most never knew. It's fought mostly underground. It's also a spiritual war, and you better be prepared, because it's about to hit those who haven't been paying attention hard. Some will not make it through the shock. The truth will make you vomit. Yeah, here's Satan Klaus. What are we doing today? Climate disaster.
Klaus and Soros, they heavily fund certain, what we would consider to be woke organizations and institutions within all first world countries. And people are not paying attention. They have not been looking at the finances and who's funding, like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and they're not looking at the scandals that they're involved in.
Alien invasion, civil war, disease X, economic collapse, World War III. Huh, I just noticed. Let me spin the camera around here. A total chemtrails, first one I've seen around here. Right as I'm doing this. Yeah, they're coming for everybody. I haven't seen them in Acapulco yet. Buenos dias. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. We're in the apocalypse. What do you think about that, Lucy? There's not much you can do, really. Just, go for your walks, eat your tacos, give your kisses, don't pay taxes, don't listen to anything the government says. Meditate every day.
See?
And that's about all you can do, I think. Yeah, probably. That's about it.
Calling out vigilante. That pump and dump comment was people working, I'm assuming, with the vigilante crew, like as in his production crew, because he's been at this for a while. I've called out a lot of his interviews that are heavily censored and predictions that he made. I'm not saying that he was a great guy, but he admitted that he wasn't the perfect guy. So he wasn't lying to people.
And then the government killed him. Rashid Buttar spoke a couple years ago, and then CNN and the government and CIA killed him.
Not wrong.
So people are putting their lives on the line to tell you this stuff and get you this information and to spread this information. So if you want to support that, get a virtual ticket to Acapulco, and you can watch it all at your own pace, although you can watch it live as well with everyone else. And we'll also have the TDB Summit the day before, which is all financial and expatriation type stuff. If you're like, how do I get out of my country? So that none of this stuff matters to you and you become like superhuman, which you totally can. The Game Changers is right after Acapulco on February 17th.
See, so what? Acapulco, I don't want people to be like not interested in going, because there's good people going to it. I believe that Mark Sargent's going, and Dave Weiss might be going as well. I'm not sure if Jeranism's going. These are all friggin' amazing content producers and business owners and podcasters, bringing really, really good, truther information to the public.
Cyber attacks.
The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
Or whether it's World War III or the Civil War or the aliens, above or below. Like I actually, like they were asking me, are we going to plan for an Acapulco next year, like the year after this one? And I told them no, because I really don't think we're going to be able to do it. It's going like, I'm expecting all those things to happen in the next year or so. So we'll see. I haven't made up my mind. I told the people running Acapulco, I said, I'll make up my mind later. But as of right now, I'm not planning to do it.
Okay, so the Nato Provocato, not wrong. I eventually have to start my day because now it's freaking getting a little bit later. The sun's coming up finally. And so, yeah, I'll leave it at that for today. I was going to talk about cloud seeding, geoengineering, chemtrails, all of that stuff, and give more proof on that. But I will save that for another day, possibly tomorrow. And so on that note, I hope you have a wonderful and blessed Sunday.